Let's explore custom dashboarding for the Edge and WAF use case in Coralogix. Now, rather than have you watch me build a dashboard, which could get very boring in video format very quickly, I thought we could reverse engineer an existing dashboard so you get all the benefit without having to watch me click around and things like that. So, top left here, we can see this dashboard, which by the way, this dashboard is a dashboard visualizing Fastly data. Fastly is a very well-known CDN provider. We have a custom extension for them, so definitely investigate that. But this dashboard I've put together to visualize some of the data we're getting. Now, if we highlight this, we can see it's a markdown tooltip type. So we can see here that we have the actual image and some text. You can edit as part of the rich text editor here, and you can add all the different things, or you can add markdown directly, totally up to you. Here we have country traffic sources, so we can see here that we have a pie chart. And by the way, widget types are all available on the left-hand side here. If you're unfamiliar with our custom dashboarding solution, by the way, you know what I'm going to say. In this course here in Getting to Coralogix, we have a whole breakdown of everything that custom dashboarding can do. In this pie chart here, we have a breakdown, and what we actually do is we just look for logs from the Fastly subsystem, so we're getting just Fastly logs, and then we group by country name. And it's really easy to do. You can add anything you want. You can group by two things. You can also stack as well. And we'll look at stacking in a moment because it's really nice. It makes some really cool dashboards like this. This is a simple HTTP graph. Once again, we do a count of the data. We look for the Fastly subsystem, and we group by response status, so we can see this. Now look at the way the colors run here. You can see that I've actually just set a color scheme to classic. We can set different ones if you wanted like different shades of red, for example, or you wanted different shades of blue. And so on. You can do all of this. It's completely up to you. I like classic, and I like the way it falls because green is 200 and 501, 503, 500. All these start to get a bit darker, starts looking a bit more ominous at the bottom, which I quite like. So that's the HTTP traffic view anyway. Status code. So essentially what we're saying here is the status code, and then what we've done is we've stacked. So we've grouped by response status, and then we've stacked by country name. So now we can see which countries are contributing to the status codes, which is really, really powerful because you could see, for example, if 500 was dominated by a particular country, we know we have an issue in our edge distribution in that region. So this is a really nice solution for visualizing multiple dimensions at once, not just status codes, but also country impacted status codes. With user agents here, we have a group by on user agent, which is, as you can imagine, very straightforward. Once again, subsystem Fastly, group by on user agent. And this is really simple. It's just the pie chart widget that you can drag in however you like, if you want to. Totally up to you. So let's just delete that widget. What else have we got? The traffic from suspected source. So this is a slightly different query now. We look to see if the IP address suspected field exists. In other words, is there a malicious value? And then if the malicious value is present, then we'll group by IP address and we'll simply count. And we get this beautiful graph showing the activity of each different IP address, which is really, really nice. Suspected traffic by country. It's a similar slice, so we check if the malicious value is present. We group by country, so each color here represents a country. However, the different shades of the color represent different IP addresses in that country. Once again, this is important because if we see one country massively dominating this pie chart with malicious IPs, we know something is peculiar is happening there, or at least we know which regions are the source of most of our cyber attacks or attempted cyber attacks. So this stacking is so powerful. The high bot score traffic. So you'll remember from a previous module that we actually decorated our logs with a bot score, an impact score that from 1 to 10 or from 0 to 10, 0 being no threat and 10 being serious danger. And we can see here that this is actually tracking for 7 upwards, basically. So any bots that are scored 7 or higher will appear here, and we can see the 3 that are appearing here and their activity. So this is really nice because it just shows you the really, really important stuff. And of course, a bar chart, a vertical bar chart here. And bear in mind, there are 2 types of bar charts, horizontal and vertical. Vertical bar chart here that's actually just showing the bot score of each of the different bots that have been detected from Googlebot at 0 because it's our friend, all the way up to Blexbot, whatever that is, up to 10. Building that's really, really straightforward. So from here, we're querying frequent search data, and I'll show you an example of querying from monitoring in a moment. The x-axis can be either grouped by time, if you want to have like a time series view, or by value. In this case, we've got it by value, and the grouping is by user agent, hence the user agent names along the bottom here. We have the aggregation as max, so what this means is that if in the past 30 minutes the score of a bot has changed, always prefer the higher value. That gives the most serious insight. And the field that we're going to visualize is the impact score from the enriched data that we discussed before. No stacking, no stack names, no nothing, and we haven't had to do anything particularly sophisticated here, but we could, change colors and things like that if we thought it was necessary. Now, then we have latency. This is actually utilizing multiple queries. So we have the field, the latency field here, again, subsystem fastly, but we take the average in this one. For query 2, we're going to take the 95th percentile. For query 3, we'll take the 99th percentile. For query 4, we'll take the median or 50th percentile. And for query 5, we'll take the max. In other words, the very, very most. These are often called the golden signals. They're a way of detecting variance in traffic as well as concerning trends. We can see actually that there's very low variance because the median and the average are very close to one another, which is a good sign. And then we can see the 95th percentile is quite high and the max is 200 milliseconds. That's the most anything seems to be taking right now. Response time in bytes, so similar kind of situation. We take a field and we group it by country name, and this gives us an idea of whether countries are sending us particularly large packets of data. For example, this time frame here, we can see that almost everybody was sending between 300 and 600 bytes of data, except the US that was sending 730. In this particular case here, we can see that the US was down to 338 and the United Kingdom was all the way up at 619. So again, a really powerful use case. Finally, continent breakdown. You'll become familiar with this by now, but a value-based vertical bar chart with group by continent code, and it's stacked by response status, meaning that we can see response statuses from a specific from a specific continent. So if we can see again a large number of 500 errors from a specific continent, we know that there's something wrong with our regional deployment, or there may be something wrong with our regional deployments anyway. This is just a breakdown of some of the things that are possible with custom dashboarding. This isn't everything, and as part of this module, we'll talk about creating the archive and much more. But this just shows you some of the use cases and some of the things that can be done very easily with simple queries and simple point-and-click UIs that make it really easy for you to understand deeply what's happening in your CDN, WAF, and edge data.